I have Perry Rockwood with me today. He's the devotional speaker and social media manager for BYU-Idaho. Perry, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Of course. Yeah, this is awesome. So, Perry, before we get into your devotional address that you gave and everything, tell us just a little bit about your role because you're the social media manager over all of BYU-Idaho. Tell us just a little bit about that role and kind of your responsibilities in that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm coming up on 2 years now in this role, overlooking all the social media for BYU-Idaho, and it's been super fun. And so I only oversee like the main official BYU-Idaho account. So if you go on like Instagram or Facebook, you'll see tons of different BYU-I accounts. And those are all ran by specific departments. But as far as like the official pages, that's what me and my team are over. And it's been really great the last couple of years. I think we've picked up a lot of momentum and steam, and just trying to give the students the type of content that they would want to see on their feeds. And it's been super fun.
Yeah. So how involved are you in like the decision making on what content goes on the page? And also like, are you ever out in the field, like actually filming or interviewing people? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I have a team of 5 20-hour-a-week students. We have 2 people that do video for us. We have a graphic designer, and then we have 2 people that help like plan the content and do all that. And so I put a lot on them because I want them to get that real world experience. But at the end of the day, of course, I'm approving things and making sure that there's nothing wild going on the pages for everybody to see, and that it aligns with our mission and our brand. But I'm pretty open to all of their ideas. And there's a lot of times where, we'll make certain static posts or certain videos that never see the light of day. And my students are okay with that. And I give that expectation up front, like, hey, no idea, especially for social media, is a bad idea. But just know that not every single idea we have is going to make it onto the account. And I think when we have like that open outlook and that expectation, it just creates a really cool dynamic, and we're able to do some things that you might not expect from a BYU-Idaho account. So it's been good.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So getting into your devotional address. So it's titled "When Sorrow Meets the Savior." And I guess a takeaway that I got from it is that it's really important for us to be real and honest with God, right? You mentioned lamenting, right? Just about everything in our lives. Just because when we are doing these things, then that's a way that we can feel, joy. Another way that we can feel joy, right, with Heavenly Father. Would you say that that's an accurate takeaway? Yeah,
for sure. I think for a lot of moments in my life, and I talk about one in particular in my talk, but I feel like I grew up in a family that was strong in the church, and my parents are both they have a very positive outlook on the world, which I love. Like that, I loved growing up in a household that was so positive. But sometimes I feel like, especially in the church, that we feel like if we're not happy, then that means we're living the gospel wrong. Because, we hear that the church is a church of joy, right? And it is, because the gospel brings that eternal joy. But that doesn't mean that every single day is going to be a day that we are happy. We're still living a life that has tests, trials, and all these different things. And so my talk is kind of to help people understand that just because you're going through something hard doesn't mean you're living the gospel wrong, and that we shouldn't hide those feelings that we're having from God. Rather, we should give them to Him. And when we do that, we're able to find a deep sense of joy that only He can provide, even when we're going through temporal struggles and maybe not having the happiest of days.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing that. So when you were, I guess, looking at, just thinking of different topics, right, to use for your devotional, because I'm sure you could have spoken on whatever you wanted, really, right? As long as it's approved, obviously.
Right.
But, why did you end up choosing this topic over all the other possibilities when there were so many other topics you could have done potentially?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that was something that was hard for me. I almost kind of wish they'd give you a topic, but I understand why they don't. And I think the Spirit really helped me see what I should be saying. I am very aware of the mental health of students. So I teach a public speaking class as well, adjunct. And each week I have an assignment. It's called a mental health check. And you get 5 points automatically if you fill it out. And I have students give themselves either a green, yellow, or red for the week. Green meaning their mental health is pretty good. Yellow meaning there's some good days and bad days. And red meaning they need help. Like it's not going well. And it's been super interesting to me to see over my couple years of teaching here that there are a lot of students that find themselves in the yellow and red that you would never guess. And so it's just something that I feel really passionate about, that there's a lot of students struggling in silence here. And I think there's more than you see on the surface with everyone. And I feel like this is a topic that can really help kind of bring that to the surface, especially having God be an integral part of your struggles. Because I feel like sometimes we think that if we are struggling, that we want to keep it from him, because no, we're supposed to be grateful to him and say thank you for everything, which of course we are every single day, right? But he already knows what we're going through, what we're feeling, and he's felt it personally. And so this is just something that is really personal to me, because I just think that he understands it all. He sees it all. He feels it all. And so we need to not hold anything back when we're talking to him. And as we just open everything up, the positive and negative emotions to him, like we'll see a greater sense of communication and a relationship with God that we've never seen.
Yeah, thank you for that, Perry. So when it comes to, being honest with God in prayer, right, and lamenting to him, I think, sometimes it can be difficult, right, to fully express those feelings, because kind of like you were saying, a lot of the times in the church and just in the gospel, we feel like, oh, like I should always be happy, I should always be grateful, which those are great things too. But I guess what has helped you to, be consistently honest in prayer with God? Like, I guess what has just helped you to get there? Like, was it uncomfortable at the beginning? Like, what has helped you to get to that point?
Yeah, totally. And I allude to that a little bit in my talk, is I didn't even know really what lamenting was for most of my life. I'd heard it before, like a book in the Old Testament, like Lamentations or whatever that is. And but I just never even knew what it meant. And then I went through a big trial in my life, and some people sent me some stuff. And one of the things that I learned about was lamenting, and that it's, in essence, faithfully complaining to God, like faithfully giving him your frustrations, your sorrow, your grief, in the hope that he can reverse that for you and be there for you. And so it was uncomfortable at first, because I feel like I was praying to him without expressing my true feelings. Like, I feel like after every prayer I had, there was always something unsaid that I wanted to say, but I felt bad for saying it, because like, God has given me everything. So why would I ever complain to him? And it wasn't until I kind of started and tried for the first time saying, like, God, like, I know you're there, but like, I'm like mad. Like, I'm frustrated at this situation. I don't understand why you've put me in this situation. Like, I've done everything right that I could think of. And when we're promised that when we do things right, that we are blessed. And I don't feel like I'm being blessed. Like I feel like it's the opposite of what I'm asking for. And that was like really hard to vocalize at first. But once you do it once and you feel that sense of just like, first of all, like relief, like a weight is off your shoulder because you're vocalizing it. But second, like I felt his arms around me as I was saying those things. And I was like, oh, wow, like God actually wants to hear that from me. And once I just kind of got over that mental block, it made sense. Because if I think about the best relationship in my life, which is my wife, like our relationship isn't only built on positive things. Like when one of us is going through something, we talk about it, right? Why would it be any different with God? And so I think if you look at those relationships in your life where you have the most trust and the most open dialogue and the most love, you can begin to see, oh, that's something I can incorporate in my communication with God. And that's where it kind of switched for me, and it's opened up a whole new way of communication since.
Thank you for sharing that. So there was also a question that came up as I was as you gave your devotional. When we're talking to God, right? When we're lamenting to Him, what's the difference between lamenting to God, but then also, expressing our anger to Him? Like, is there a line there? Like, what's the difference there? Because I feel like a lot of times when people, especially when they start, if they're going to start lamenting things, then it's like, kind of like you were saying, like, it feels kind of uncomfortable, right? It kind of feels weird because it's like, well, I'm being mad at God when He's blessed me with so many things, right? So what's the line there?
So lamenting is not murmuring. Like, it's complaint directed towards God, but it's also the essence of faith. Like you're doing it because you know that He understands and because you want that relationship. Like you're not talking bad about Him or to Him. It's, I know you're there. So how can you help me like get through this? So it's still coming from a place of trust, a place of hope in His blessings and in His promises. So it's like, I call it like faithful complaining. like you're telling Him, like, I do not like what's going on right now. Like I really don't, but I know that you're still there. And that's why I'm bringing this to you, because I know you love me and I know you feel what I'm feeling. So please, like, help me get through this. And so that's where I think the distinction is. Like, you're not just telling Him your problems with no sense of like Him helping you through it. Like that's just murmuring. Like, why are you doing this to me? Blah, 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 like all this stuff. But it's bringing your sorrow to Him, knowing that He can help you through it.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so, Perry, for anyone, for anyone that's trying to figure this out, right? That's trying to start this for the first time, that's trying to feel, that relief or deepen their relationship with their Heavenly Father, what, I guess, advice would you have to people that are trying to do this for the first time and that are trying to get into this habit of strengthening that relationship and expressing these things to Him?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So my brother's a religion teacher on campus, and one of the things that he taught me that I thought was so cool is when Joseph Smith went into the sacred grove to pray and find out which church was true, and we know the first vision was a result from that. The first thing that Satan did was bind his tongue. And I think that's so powerful and a lesson for us that the last thing Satan wants us to do is to open our mouths, especially to communicate with God. And so the first thing I would say, the first piece of advice with lamenting, if this is a new thing for you, is doing it out loud. Like there's just a certain, like, I don't know how to explain it. A prayer is different when it's said out loud versus in your heart. I mean, not one prayer is better than the other, but it's just a different experience. And so I would say to find a place where you can actually vocalize your lamenting to God. And then the second thing is, if it's hard for you to know what to say, write it down beforehand. There's no reason why a prayer can't be written out before. And so, I mean, people are really good at writing in their journals their true feelings, right? So maybe if you're on that road to starting to lament and to communicate that way to God, start with a journal entry about what you're going through, and then turn that into a vocal prayer to God, and then record your feelings afterwards of how you felt his love after doing that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anything else, Perry, that you would add that maybe I didn't touch on or might have missed?
No, I think the last thing I would just say is this talk is heavy, and it's one that could seem to be a little on the more negative side, but it really is the number one way that I've felt God's love most in my life. And so I love that the scriptures do such a good job of showing us examples of people going through sorrow, but still experiencing joy at the same time. And that's the one positive thing, other than, learning how to be more open with God, that I hope people can take from my talk, is that we can be going through hard things, we can be going through these trials, and at the same time experience a joy that only God can provide, that the world can't, that others can't. It's only the Christ and his atonement that can fill us with that joy in our hearts, even when we're going through the hardest things in our lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Perry, for your devotional and for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you so much.